Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my last video for 2024, so I'm going to take next week off. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a present, a very easy project that you have been asking me for quite some time. As you might remember, I made this corset right here and this sketch to that corset. And obviously the video will be linked in the description down below, so you can watch that after this one. And there is a skirt, as you can see, and so many of you guys asked me in the last couple of weeks on my Instagram, in the comments and so on and so forth, when I will do the skirt. So today I went ahead and got into the math of this pleated skirt and realized a pattern for you guys, and we're gonna make this pleated cute little mini skirt together today. So this is the corset I made a couple of weeks ago. I really liked it. It had this black line, and then I used this plaid fabric, which I really liked. A lot of you guys were like, why didn't you match up the plaid? Well, I didn't care, honestly. And then I also did some adjustings. That's why the plaid really is very off here. Like this, for example, doesn't look that great, but that is because I actually cinched in the waist a teeny tiny bit, and I was also not checking too much, but look, it's matching up here. Anyways, I already went ahead and cut out all of my fabric, and I made sure, hopefully, at least it did a little bit better than with the corset itself. So I cut out my facing in this beautiful yellow satin that I also used for the inside of my corset. But we're gonna put that away for now. And then I also have my waist section right here. And as you can see, it matches up. I'm really happy with that. Look at that. Obviously, the plaid is not symmetrical, as you can see here. There is these two lines here, but then there's not these lines, but these two. So there is only so much you can do, but at least I tried. I think this side works better than this side, but whatever, that's fine for me. So I'm gonna go ahead, and before we go into the pleating, also this is gonna be rather a short video because it's not too much in the skirt, which is amazing because it's a fast sew and it's really cute. And because I already did the math for you guys, it was a lot of math, in 8 sizes. The whole day I was in front of my computer. Anyways, I already did the math for you, so you guys only have to, put in the notches for the pleats that you can see right here. But we're gonna talk about all of this in just a second. So let's prep the waistband. So we're going to close the side seams by putting right sides together, like that, closing here. And then we're gonna repeat the same thing for the facing as well. With that done, I'm going to iron my seam allowance open, and I like to use a tailor's hem because this has the hip curvature. I'm not gonna overlock this seam here because it's gonna be hidden by the facing, so I'm just gonna iron it flat, and I'm gonna repeat the same for the facing as well. And then I'm going to overlock my hemline of my facing. You can also use some bias binding and finish this edge, but since we're gonna add the pleats, it's gonna be very thick, so I wanna have as thin of a finishing as possible. You could also fold this under like so and top stitch it. That should also be fine because you're not going to be able to see inside, but for me it's just the easiest to just overlock it all around here, the line where we're going to put the pleats on, or which will cover the seam for the pleats, and then we're done with the facing as well. Okay, next up are the pleats. Since we have 2 or 3, depending what size you are doing, pieces of pleats, we have to first of all sew them together here at one side. So I'm just going to put right sides together, and I'm also going to try to, this is not really possible here since I wanted to, not waste too much fabric. I'm not going to be able to match up the pleats or like the plaid here, which is, to me, it's fine. As I said before, obviously if you want to do it differently you can, but there's going to be some people saying, oh, the plaid doesn't match up, which I totally understand, but for me that's fine, as I said. So I'm gonna sew along here to fuse these 2 pieces together, and I'm also going to overlock that seam. So let's talk about the pleats. As I said before, I have all of the markings for your sizes in my pattern already. I had to split it up into 2 different patterns for specific sizes because at some point you have to third the pattern pieces because of the fabric width. So for all of these sizes, so double XS to L, you can actually use this one pattern. You only have to cut out 2 pieces on fold, and for the larger sizes you have to cut out 3 pieces on fold, so that you know why there are 2 patterns. And then you see all of these different pleating markings right here. Obviously you search for the ones with your marking for your size. You know, all of the lines have different markings. You choose that one and then you mark all your notches into your fabric piece. As you can see here, I also did that for my size. And now what I'm doing is essentially following what the arrows show me to do. So I have my first notch up here and then my second notch, and that notch over the next notch should match up with this notch right here. And obviously you want to do that straight. Since this is plait, this is fairly easy, like so, all the way down. And that is your first pleat, which I will completely iron flat. And it's always handy to have enough water next to your sewing desk because you'll need a lot of steam for them to stay like that. And I'm thinking about how I want to finish the hem, and I think I want to do a black bias binding finishing for the hem, which I will put in at the very, very end because I have the zipper and then obviously the center back seam. And if I do it right now, it's gonna be, you know, a little bit messy in the end. It's bulking up and so on, and you might not match it up perfectly. So we're gonna do that at the very end, and then I'll have to iron again, essentially over top of the hem to put the pleats in, but that should be no problem. If you want to do a facing, which you need to add to your hem seam allowance, there is no facing in here as you see, otherwise there would be written facing, hem facing, whatever. So you need to add, if you want to, a hem facing. I would suggest to iron the hem facing up first, and if you want to top stitch or however you want to fix it in place, hand sew, blind stitch, anything, before you do the pleats, because it's just easier. Otherwise you're essentially just going to do double the work. But for me, since I am choosing the bias binding finish for my hem, I'm going to do that at the very end just to avoid a bulky mismatched seam in the center back. So now I'm just going to continue on until I have everything pleated. Also, another thing, I am going to fix all of the finished pleats in place with a pin so that they are not, you know, coming loose, and I might iron over top of pleats that are not sitting correctly. So I want to avoid that, therefore using pins for that. So next one right here, skipping the next, matching it up like so. And all of these pleats have the same size of pleat that goes in here and the one that is visible. So these fold lines should match up. Okay, with all of the pins now in, I'm gonna go ahead and just baste the upper portion of my pleats down because I don't want to lose these and I want to take out the needles here. I am going to continue and pin my waistband right on top of that line here that we just basted in place. And then I can just match up all the in-between nicely, like that. And I'm gonna sew along that pleat line here. With that done and overlocked, I'm going to try to iron the seam allowance towards the pleats, because that's just gonna look better from the right side. And I'm gonna try to be as careful as I can. Okay, and now you can decide to also top stitch this seam here, but I don't think I'm gonna do that because I don't want to have any top stitches right on top of my pleats. So let's continue on and put the facing right on top here to finish the waistline. Okay, I'm going to iron the facing towards the wrong side so everything lays nice and flat. And I'm also making sure that the ditch of the seam is only visible on the facing side, so on the inside. And this should also cover the seam where we added the pleats right here. As you can see, I also went ahead and understitched that seam. I always like to do that for the facing just because it lays better. You don't have to do that much anymore. When ironing, it just lays like this automatically. So I advise you to do that as well. And then I also overlocked the complete center back from facing to hem. And now it's already time to put the zipper in. So we're gonna fix this piece in place after the zipper is in, just because it's easier, it lays better, and we have more access to the center back seam. So I added the zipper notches to the pattern. So let me just quickly find those right here. And mine is only 20 centimeters long, so I think I'm just gonna raise up the zipper notch by 5 centimeters, as I marked my zipper notch for a 25 centimeter zipper. So I'm just gonna adjust that. This should not be too much of a problem because there are the pleats, so they create volume. So there should not be a fitting issue like that. Okay, so to put the zipper in, I'm going to find my end of the zipper right here by just folding my zipper band to the side, and then I'm matching that up with that fold line that we ironed in when we ironed the facing towards the inside. And I'm gonna pin that in place. And then I'm just gonna, without stretching either fabric or zipper, work my way downwards until I reach my zipper notch, which is right here. So I'm gonna sew right until that zipper notch, like that. And now I'm gonna use a zipper foot and put that side in. Okay, with everything now put in, I'm going to mark these spots where there are, specific points that I need to match up with the other side. So I'm gonna mark the zipper notch, the waistband seam right here, the pleat seam I mean, and then also where that fold line sits here at the top of my zipper band. You can also just mark that with a washable marker. I like to do it with pins. And now I'm just gonna match all of this up with the other side and put that side in as well. So I like to start with the center right here and work my way up and down. I'm going to keep in the pins because everything shifts a teeny tiny bit under the sewing machine. So I like to have some sort of guidance, I guess, where exactly those points need to be. So I'm just gonna leave them in. And now I'm gonna sew this side in. Okay, and once the zipper is closed, this is what it looks like. It's not matching up perfectly here, but I had a really hard time with the zipper. I don't really like that specific zipper. I like the ones that I'm usually using. I got this one for the other project the other day, but didn't use it. So anyways, I'm going to continue closing the center back from the zipper notch down to the hem. And since I have 2 notches now, because I, moved that 1 notch, I also have another point that I can match up here. And then obviously this point here needs to be matched up. I'm gonna start sewing about 1 centimeter lower just because there is no space and it's just gonna lay nicer. It just has a teeny tiny bit more, space. So I'm just gonna leave that 1 centimeter open and then we're gonna fix that zipper to the seam allowance. So let's close the remaining center back seam. Okay, like that, and very carefully iron the seam allowance flat. And we're gonna have to re-iron the pleats in here anyways, but just so that you don't iron too many pleats flat, just iron carefully. And this is what the back looks like now. As you can see, there are these two ones that I have to re-iron in. Okay, and now we can do two things. First of all, we're gonna finish the zipper here with the facing. So I'm going to flip that out of the way as I did before, and then I'm gonna flip over that, the facing, pin it in place, and then it should reach to just over the pleat seam like that. I'm gonna repeat the same on the other side. And now I'm gonna use a one-sided foot and sew the facing onto the zipper band. Okay, let's cut this seam allowance a little bit down and turn it right sides out. And it looks pretty nice. Let's go ahead and also iron this flat, just like that, slightly. Should be fine. Okay, and the last thing is to finish the hem. So I said that I want to do a black bias binding finish here, which I think I'm still gonna do. I first have to take out all of the pins. Some of them are already have fallen out. Okay, and you can already see where this is going. Really, really nice. Let's finish the hem with some black bias binding. I don't even know if I have enough black. I'll go find it. I think I used this one maybe. I'll have it somewhere. So let's bind the edges, and then the skirt is almost done. We're gonna fix the facing down, and then we're done. So as you can see, I ironed in the pleats into the hem, and it looks really, really nice because this makes it really crisp, I guess. So these edges are now very, very sharp, which I like. So the last thing that we're gonna do is fix the facing into place. And I like to open up my zipper so that I can reach in and reach the side seam of both my facing and my shell, and I'm gonna go around this. You can do either the full length, but I would advise you to be super careful to avoid any tucking, because that can happen very, very quickly if you sew around this whole thing in one go, or like completely, I guess. So I'm just gonna do the side seams and then probably also the front, and that should be fine. And I'm just gonna add a little bar tack right here to fix these in place so that the facing doesn't flop up. And then I'm also going to do the same for that zipper band, you know, the rest that is just hanging loosely on the inside for now. So I want the zipper to be fixed to the seam allowance here. So I'm closing my zipper a tiny bit so that it doesn't pull on the fabric, and then I'm gonna add a pin to this side, only the seam allowance and the zipper band, and to this side. And then I can also add some bar tacks, either horizontal or vertical, it doesn't really matter, to only that seam allowance and the zipper band, and then also the other side, of course. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this very cute and very fast sew. Obviously, the pleating takes some time, but I think it's still a very cool and easy project. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss any uploads. Also ring the bell. I upload on Sundays, so you can keep an eye out for that. If you want to support me further, pop a comment down below. That, you know, just helps me so that this video gets pushed out to more people who might be interested in content like this. That would actually help me out tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. In the meantime, between uploads, you can always check out my social media. I post tips and tricks, short format content all around my projects. So check out all the links in my description down below. The most direct way to support me is to actually check out my Etsy shop and get this pattern. You will find a direct link in the description down below. If it's not there yet, you might want to check out my Insta stories for updates. It just takes some time, you know. I am one person doing everything, so it just takes a little bit more time sometimes, but you know, you'll see it. If there's the link, it's there. If not, the general link to my store will be there, and you can check out all the other patterns that I have available in my shop. Also, a special thank you to my channel members. That's another way to support me and my channel and keep videos just like this one coming. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you happy holidays, a good new year, and I'll see you in 2025. Bye guys!